Today we are here at ZKM in front of the building on the island, and here with me is Cem A, who is an artist and curator and the admin of the meme page Freeze magazine that you have maybe stumbled upon already if you are on Instagram and are somehow loosely connected to the art world, because it's, I think, the biggest platform in Germany who is focusing on memes around the art world. And besides this, you're also doing site-specific installations, and that is one of the topics we'd like to talk about today. So welcome, Cem.
Thank you.
So in the last couple of weeks, there have been some changes around ZKM, and if you have been around, you might have noticed them, or you didn't. But if you did, we are hoping that you were a little bit puzzled about what you were seeing, because everywhere where you could see the ZKM logo, you weren't seeing the usual Zentrum für Kunst und Medien, but some quirky or critical or downright whimsical new names for the acronym ZKM, for example, Zentrum für Kulturkürzungen und Mehrarbeit or Zentrum für Kuriositäten und Mückenstiche. And that was an inventive intervention by Cem A. So today we are unraveling this mystery of what you have been seeing. Well, my first question would be, how did you come up with this?
The inspiration for this idea came from my first site visit to ZKM and to Karlsruhe, because from the moment that I left the train station and took the tram, I noticed that the ZKM name appears in many places, and ZKM seems to be an integral part of the city and always referred to as ZKM, also outside Karlsruhe or like even around the world. And I just thought that's an interesting starting point for a joke. Actually, one reference to this could be seen in like stand-up comedy, because as far as I understand it, in stand-up comedy, the narrative works by kind of telling a story that you would expect to go in a certain direction, but then the joke is to kind of twist that. Mm-hmm. So I thought that's something we could recreate just with the name of ZKM, and also kind of try to break the hegemony of the building and also the institution, and kind of get in between the institution and its audiences.
Mm-hmm. There's also like a specific reaction you were hoping for, the intervention, or?
I don't know, for me it's kind of funny either way, like whether someone notices the intervention or not. Because if they notice it, then yes, it is funny, and like they see what's happening, and like hopefully they're a bit puzzled. But at the same time, I find it funny if people don't notice it at all, that it also shows something different about the institution itself and how it engages with its audiences.
In
as
what
well.
Way, you mean?
That, like maybe I don't know, it kind of makes me question whether people look at signages at all, or you kind of skip over certain parts that you think is already there. So like, what does that familiarity or that shortcut mean? That like, what kind of is that because you are really engaged with your audience, or like, of course it also depends on the person, or is that because you're so isolated and then there's like a disconnect as well, that I think you can kind of attribute different meanings to how people miss this intervention as well.
And even people who like know about this haven't noticed the change. I think like a lot of colleagues that haven't seen it because they just go into the building every day and they don't look so much at the screens or the signs. And in Karlsruhe, so I'm wondering, I think ZKM is just a big part of the identity of Karlsruhe. At least I think that. I don't know if that's true, but I feel that way, and maybe it's clear to everyone what the acronym stands for. But even if that was the case, then they should have noticed the change even more.
Yeah, I was thinking, for instance, particularly about the signatures, because one aspect of the project is that all the staff of the museum can change the ZKM signature on their emails. And then I was just kind of thinking that, like, if no one notices this change, then do people even look at the signatures? Do you even need signatures in emails?
I also would like to know, how did you even start making memes? Like, what made you do it?
Unfortunately, I don't have a very good answer to this, because it was just procrastination attempt. But now, when I look back, I realized that it kind of coincided with a time that I was like finishing school and trying to find a full-time job and trying to find my place in the art world, and also the frustrations that came with the struggle to be sponsored and to be employed as a non-EU citizen. And that kind of gave me the material at this time to make memes on this subject.
Out of emergency, you created the page.
Frustration and annoyance.
Always good material for memes. So you actually had like a different career path for you in mind, and
I mean, it was going to be something in the art world. That's what I was training to do or like hoping to do. But then this was the moment that I really doubted it, and then this was also just before the pandemic, so that also brought a different context to what I was trying to do, both like employment-wise, like trying to find a job, and also it gave a new, like a bigger meaning to making memes and like sharing it on this platform, and in a way also being at the same playing level as institutions too, since everything was forced to shut down. Suddenly we were all content creators, kind of competing for the same eyeballs.
Do you remember what your first meme was?
Yes, it was, this like silly meme about Hans-Jürgen Obrist's Instagram page. And then for me it was, I actually posted it on another page I was running at that time, and I was just kind of amazed by how many likes a meme, or like how much engagement a meme would receive, which was way more than anything else I posted on the account. And that kind of made me more curious about kind of getting deeper into it and like trying things out.
And I'll just like ask you to describe a meme, which is like, we just talked about how cringe it is to actually describe a meme. It's something that you just show, and if you have to describe it, it's already almost ruined. But I think you did a good job with describing this.
I don't think there are that many people who are not familiar with memes, but maybe they just don't know what it is called, because a majority of world's population are exposed to the internet, and that comes with circulation of images and like composition of texts and images, and especially if they're humorous, then I think we can call them memes. But of course this also refers to internet memes, because memes is in its purest sense it's a much broader cultural concept.
Speaking of memes in general, I don't know if, like, as you said, most people are exposed to like memes on the internet or on Instagram or TikTok or wherever. How do you see the role of memes in the art world?
You can look at it from multiple perspectives. One for me is to, first of all, like recognize memes as like for the cultural value and their aesthetic value, which is my motivation for doing this kind of interventions, or like the installation we are doing together. And the other element of it, which I think applies to other aspects of our society as well, is how they could be like used as a tool for both being critical and also normalizing things as well. I think it has like sort of these two roles. On one hand, you can use a meme to kind of open up a conversation, ask questions, and kind of make people aware of things that they may not have thought of before. And at the same time, the assumptions that are baked into making a meme already carries a lot of power. It's very mundane to think about, like what a meme already assumes, but then that's actually, it's also very powerful to normalize different ideas and make them mainstream in a way. So they also play that role.
And why do you think it is so hard in comparison for memes to make it into art institutions? Because like commenting on what's going on in the world is actually often an integral component to many artworks, and memes could be considered a different form of that.
I think there are many past, let's say, art movements or past art historical examples that found their way into institutions after they were conceived, or like they occurred in real life. And I kind of see that with memes as well, that I think they will have a place in art history, whatever you like, however you might frame it in the future, because of their cultural and aesthetic qualities. But more importantly, I think the biggest block in that is the fact that they already reached the audience that they need to reach. The support of an institution could easily also turn into an interference with making memes. But in that, I'm more interested in finding new ways to use institutions as an opportunity to support my work, or that I'm already doing, but kind of try to keep them as separate as possible. Or like, of course, they do communicate, but then it's more about, using this as a like a vessel to do things that I'm already interested in, and produce memes out of these experiences.
You once said that it doesn't really make sense to just exhibit a meme as it is, because we were maybe able to see that a few years ago when memes have been, for example, painted and then they were hung in exhibition spaces, and that doesn't really make sense with memes. So what way are you finding to make it make sense in institutions?
It's funny that you say like as it is, because it's also, I think, like again, like speak of like the power of normalization is also to kind of assume that how you could exhibit a meme can only be done by a painting, which also already shows like a different power structure within that. For me, I would actually argue that you should show memes as it is, which is not painting or a print of it, because when you turn it into like a painting or a print or a poster, you first of all lose the like how you interact with a meme, because the power of a meme also comes from how it's easy to share, like how you receive it and how you can continue sharing it, which you cannot do in these forms. And also, even from a very like purely art institutional framework, even how you change its size, and like how you, like I see memes also as site specific to smartphones, which is completely destroyed by trying to turn it into this format, or like this transition doesn't add anything to it. And my approach instead is to think of it more site specifically, and then almost translate the essence of a meme into different mediums. This might be a single object, it might be an abstract installation of, for example, this like parasitic insertion of different names around the building without telling anyone, or it could be an installation that maybe builds a meme in a like a life-size environment to kind of create a critical space where you can think about it in a different way, which is not, in fact, which is not available or like accessible in the same way on a digital platform, because of the speed of the internet and how we are kind of pushed even further to consume more and consume more content. Kind of doesn't allow us to also take a moment to look at memes in a critical way. So I also see this as almost as a dualistic approach, that in a way you don't have to make a choice between digital and physical spaces. It's more about kind of looking at the strengths and weaknesses of both of these mediums, which coexist. Like you never make a choice between those two things. They coexist at the same time, and you just try to bring them together and create like a synergy between them, that they give power to each other.
Why was it important to you to have two chapters, like the first chapter with the intervention and then the second chapter with the installation?
I mean, it has a conceptual answer and an honest answer. The honest answer would be that that's kind of how the project developed, that like it started from this idea of imagining like renaming ZKM as Zentrum für Kritik und Memes, but then as we were working on this, it became more apparent to also kind of contemplate on what a Center for Critique and Memes could look like. And this was again the right space to like kind of illustrate this, or to work on this idea. And then that's then what I combined with this meme template, which I think works quite well in a physical space. And in that way, how we chose the foyer was also very instrumental in like how much foot traffic there is around this, and like how many people sit around it, and like so many things happen. and that gave it like a bigger meaning to the project.
Comes together so nicely. I love it. And speaking of the installation, I would ask you again to describe the meme that you have adjusted for the installation, and how it maybe occurred and how it was used and circulated on the internet and what you made out of it.
As far as I know, the meme actually originates from a caricature in this case, and it's this like the title is year 2030. And then there's like a person, like an ill person lying on the floor, and then someone's asking for a doctor, and there are like 5 people around the person, but then they're all DJs, so they can't help, which I think is quite funny. And then there were many other iterations of this on different platforms in different ways, and I made a version of it as well. But then it also lends itself really well into this sequencing of like how each speaker speaks, and like you can walk up to it's actually like a moving image work and an installation at the same time, and you can walk up to it and then experience it, and like if you stay there for a bit you would see different ones, and then even if you, I don't know, work here or like pass by the building every day, you are likely to see different versions of the meme every time. So it's also like something that you could explore over like a longer period. So all of these things kind of came together.
And how were these captions generated that you see on the screen above, where the speech bubbles are?
Those I started writing myself, and some of them are based on the original, like the initial meme that I made on this. But then I also used ChatGPT to kind of generate more names or like more one-liner jokes, which again then I filtered through and then kind of fed back into ChatGPT to produce more, which I think also adds a conceptual element to the work, to kind of work in tandem with something like this. It's not something that ChatGPT can produce on its own, but then it's a tool you can use to kind of expand on this idea. So that also kind of came in handy.
But also you made one more adjustment or alteration to the installation, which is you changed the faces to the face of a Wojak. And I don't know if people are, if they know about, know who is a Wojak. And so the question is, what is this character and why did you change it to his face?
Wojak is this recurring character in memes that can take many different shapes, and like there are many versions of it, and no one really knows where it came from. And that's one reason why I'm interested in it, because it kind of already involves this public authorship, kind of like folklore in a way. For example, there's like Limor Schiffman, this meme scholar, who describes memes as digital folklore, which I really like. And then I just wanted to create a stronger connection between like meme culture and this installation, so that if you're familiar with this template, or even if you're not familiar with it, if you're familiar with the Wojak character, you could see the connection. Now there are many different versions of it that are like, could be, I don't know, like there are like different genders, different moods, different like how they play a different role in each joke, each one. So there's like no end to it.
For the installation, we also get like special screens. We wanted screens that are super pixelated, like very low resolution. And why is that? Why is that important for you?
Yeah, it was first of all kind of ironic to come at an institution that have such high quality technical material and then ask for the one thing that they don't have. Yeah, like for me, it adds another like sculptural element to the work that. Because these screens are built out of tiles, so you can build each character individually, like depending on its size, and you're not constrained by the ratio of like typical screens. And at the same time, they're much chunkier and they have this bigger structure behind them, which I think kind of gives you also a conceptual pose to contemplate on like the weight of a meme. And most importantly, it kind of creates this pixelated texture because of how you're meant to look at these screens from a distance. So when you get closer, you really like it really replicates the pixelated texture of memes you see online, because it doesn't really make like, I think that there's an aesthetic quality that is important to memes. There's like, for example, nuked memes that like you like oversaturate images, which is like a more exaggerated version of this. And also images get as you like take a screenshot and then post something, for instance on Instagram or like I think any other platform, it's compressed ever so slightly to optimize it. So actually the more an image is posted, the more like pixelated or like corrupted it becomes. And that's another kind of quality to the work that I wanted to replicate in real life.
And when the people are like standing in front of the installation, they are also like kind of like in it because it's so fragmented, and you feel like one of these people or persons standing in front of the lying man in the front as well. And what like effect were you hoping to get from the people? Do you think they will like reflect on their own role?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of capture a moment that you could kind of interact in like in a more like three-dimensional way, that the lying person is like much further, like much closer to the audience than the characters in the back, for instance. And that was kind of to also kind of create a moment where you like, let's say, enter from the main entrance of the building, and then you see the installation, and then you walk towards that way, and then you interact with it. It's not like there's one angle that you can look at the work from, but you can really walk around it and so on. And I think that's also how I would imagine, like if someone actually has fallen ill as well, that like it would not happen in a perfect spot right in the middle of a gallery. It would be in a corner or like somewhere where people are actually walking. So to utilize that was also important.
Actually, my last question is already, what do you think, what power do memes hold? Like, do you think they actually have the power to bring about change? Or are they also like standing beside what is happening in the world and criticizing it, but being unable to actually do something about it? Or how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of my like justification for wanting to work with memes in art spaces, to kind of create a space where we can think about like meme literacy, basically, that like more like making people more familiar with meme culture. Because even if you're a person who's like really into memes and like find it very cringe that someone has to explain what a meme is to another person, that doesn't necessarily mean that you look at the content you see on social media as critical as other things. So my interest is in kind of creating more awareness around how meme culture can be engaged in a more critical way to begin with, and also to use this as a lens to look at other things as well. And of course, we're also like in this era now that many other things get memeified in a way, that like almost as a tool to hack the algorithms and reach more people. And it's almost an occultist thing to do, that you kind of rely on the symbols to kind of reach masses as well. There's like something almost hypnotic about it. And it's like it's this study of like trying to find almost like hypnotic images or symbols. So memes definitely fall into this discourse as well. And yeah, I just hope that they kind of create a more critical engagement with our social media presence. And in that, I think it's hard to kind of say where does the role of a meme start and end, because on one hand, I do see memes as like sort of responsible, or like carrying this responsibility of like making people more critical of their surroundings, whatever that might be. But at the same time, I don't think this role only falls on memes themselves, because it's also kind of, I think, too easy to just kind of demote this role just to images that circle on the internet. It's more about people. So it's more of again, a sort of synergy that we need to create.
Yeah, then thank you so much for this interview. And you can, of course, come and see the intervention for yourselves, like literally everywhere. You can just write an email or look at the screens or go on our website and see the installation, of course. It's running until the end or mid of October. And maybe you should also visit the shop and see for yourself what you can find there.